My name is Tom Plank, and I'm in a Zoom window with my friend and ministry partner, Greg Wines. And we want to take just a few minutes today to share our excitement of the upcoming Exponential Conference in Orlando, Florida, that will take place on February the 26th through March 1st. Another way to say it is we want to take just a few minutes and provide several reasons why we think you need to be at Exponential this year. So, Greg, why don't you kick us off?
Well, I will just say that I understand Sunday it's going to be 13 degrees in Fort Wayne, Indiana. It's 81 right now here. And it will be about that same difference, when the pre-con's going on. So
in Cincinnati, we dealt with about 10 days of single-digit temperatures. I'm with you, Greg.
I don't mind telling you, I have a darker tan than you do.
Well, that's it. That's the way it should be, at least this time of year.
All right.
One of the reasons I love Exponential is I just think that no one installs multiplication DNA like Exponential. Every year I walk away from attending Exponential with greater clarity on my calling to be a disciple maker, to be a multiplier, with a deeper passion for disciple making into the church and for church multiplication. So what I would say to anyone watching this video, if you're wrestling with a call to plant a church, for your church to multiply, I think you need to be in Orlando in February.
Well, and I would just add to that, Tom, that I think that there's so many reasons why people won't multiply. As pastors, we all feel entropy. We feel pressure from everybody to keep pulling it in, doing our own thing, building our own empire. And so we always need to be challenged in that regard.
Yeah, there's no question about that. I think that's another reason that I think I just love the Exponential Conference is because they've changed the conversation. Yeah. When the Exponential first started, it really was about and for church planners, and it's really expanded to include a much wider swath of the church. And
you know how I can tell that? When I first used to get, I've gone for the whole thing, but I mean, let's say 10 years ago, everybody was shaved head with one of those, what do you call those things on the soul patch or whatever we call those little things? And everybody was. And now it's like there's a whole lot more diversity. Yeah. They're all shaved heads. I mean, it's just, you can tell there's a lot of gray hair. I mean, there obviously are people in existing churches that are struggling, that are plateaued, that are trying to figure out what do we do. So you can just see that as you begin to look at the diversity there.
Yeah, and I think out of that, Greg, Exponential really has sparked what I believe to be the most exciting conversation happening in the Big C church right now.
Yeah, I agree. Another reason I think you need to come is that our pre-con this year, we're going to have worship. Now, it's always been great worship in the big things, the plenary sessions. But in our pre-con this year, I'm really pumped because, we used to say, okay, let's get started, and everybody kind of settle down. But this is cool in that we now have our own worship team coming to do our own worship in the pre-con, which I think is great.
And speaking of our pre-con, we have got quite the lineup of speakers. Sean Lovejoy, Ralph Moore, Brad Briscoe.
We don't have Ralph yet, do we?
Well, we will. You're locking
that up. I'm leaning on him.
Right, you're
I'm leaning on him, but we don't have him confirmed. But go ahead.
Yeah, so they'll Ralph,
and Tom Plank, and all those.
And Greg Wines.
All those.
It's just going to be exciting. We're going to talk about Wired for Impact, and we're really going to be basing it off this belief that we believe every leader in every church has the potential wiring for significant kingdom impact. But Greg, you and I, we see it every day. And we see it in our own lives. We see it in the pastors and churches that we're working with. There's some wiring that maybe is old and needs replaced, or maybe some wiring that needs rewired. So we're going to talk about what it looks like to be wired or maybe rewired for significant impact.
Well, and one of the things that I love about coming together also as a group is that I saw it in the Chicago Regional a year and a half ago, when I think our tribe, and I don't mean just HTC, but the tribe that we hang out with, the people we hang out with, we've reached a tipping point. I began to see it with Indiana Ministries of the Church of God. They brought a group that I began to see they were reaching a tipping point where the conversation was no longer, are we going to multiply? But it's a question of how are we going to multiply?
Right.
And when, and all those things. And so I think that, that's what I love is I really believe that it was in our tribe. We've reached a tipping point. Yep. Depending on who you listen to, it's 15 to 20%. But you reach a tipping point where at some point the conversation changes. And I think we're there. I really do think that because the hundreds of people that come that we know are having the same conversation.
Yeah. There's no question about it. Um, uh, Bumping into pastors, and I'm at events, and what they're talking about is closely related to disciple making, to church multiplication. It is really super exciting. Which, speaking of people, another great reason to come is you get to hang out with some great people.
And that isn't fun. And we're really trying to put together some fun stuff. I mean, for this year, so we'll see. But yeah, I mean, for me, it's the relationship building
That's right.
that you begin to build with people who of like mind and like heart that can spur you on toward love and good deeds.
Yeah.
To me, that is. I mean, we've all sat through conferences where it was just a data dump or just a drinking from a fire hydrant. And those are, you get excited, you get pumped, you hear worship music, but then you leave and things just dissipate. But this is not the case, and that you build a relationship with people who during the year do spur you on. They do encourage you. They do email you, text you, whatever.
Yeah, there's no question. I think probably my favorite part of the exponential conference is how ashamed, that's not even a word, how
Yes,
intentional they are
unashamedly, or
with,
something like that.
without shame. uh,
Without shame. That's right.
Without shame, they challenge people to answer the call to multiply.
Yeah.
The close of their events, when hundreds of people come forward to answer the call to multiply, is just one of the truly powerful moments of of the year.
I had someone tell me today that I was talking with. It was at an exponential when they went forward,
Yeah.
and that they sense God move in their life to the point that they've now made that commitment. Now they're still confused as to how that works out, but there's no doubt that they're going to do it because it was kind of like crossing the line. It was like, yeah, I've done it. God spoke to me in that moment. I just got to figure out, how do we do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Greg, before we talk about this year's theme for the Exponential Conference, do you have any other reason, one last reason?
Oh yeah, yeah. I think the Dying to Restart book that we've done with that Dan Turner and I did together. It's basically going from level 1 to level 5. Just had a conversation. Don't want to let too many secrets out, but I think Exponential, they wanted to publish it. They've talked with us, and Todd and I had a conversation today, so they're going to publish it. And I think it's going to be out by that. That Todd is committing to that. We'll see whether. I mean, it's only 5 weeks left, but I think they're going to try to get that published before then. So.
Oh, it's super exciting. Well, this year's theme for Exponential is Hero Maker, Greg. And I know you've been involved in some conversations that has kind of led to that being the topic. So talk to us a little bit about what it means to be a hero maker and what we can expect from the theme.
Well, we know that every pastor, without exception, feels the pressure to be the hero. In other words, it's to do your best, it's to be your best. Few of us are ever really encouraged to be a maker of heroes, to be a hero maker. In other words, and it's all about building your own empire. And I don't mean that in a bad sense, but you're going to do your best sermons. You're going to do, you want to do the best programs. You want to get the best thing going. And it's so easy to fall into a trap to think that God has called you to be the hero of his kingdom there. And that's not the case. When you study scripture, your goal is to disciple others, to make heroes of other people. And I'll be very candid with you. There are very few pastors of large and or small congregations that I know that have a passion to make heroes of other people. So that's what it's all about. Dave Ferguson and Warren Bird have written a book. It will be coming out this next month on that subject. It's a great book. There will be an assessment you can take called the HM5. But it is truly an effort to say, how do we as leaders need to twist our purpose, our leadership, the way we lead, we're more concerned about producing people who become heroes than being a hero ourselves.
It's going to be super exciting. The main stage speakers are always fantastic. The breakouts that they provide are tremendous. It's going to be a great week. Greg and I just want to say thanks for taking a few minutes to watch this video. And we also want to let you know that you can register today at healthyggrowingchurches.com. If you hit the free.
Do we still have our $99 rate?
We do. Yep. It's $99. $59 for the pre-con, and then there's a little bit of a handling charge. So it's $163 total. If you go to healthyggrowingchurches.com, click free resources, and then hit events. Then you'll see the 2018 Exponential
And
Conference.
it's twice that on the Exponential site.
It is, yeah. So if you're going to register, you definitely want to register at the Healthy Growing Churches.
And bring your friends, get them to register on our site too, because we're not going to exclude anybody who's not HTC. So anybody can register at that rate till our 100 tickets are gone.
Absolutely. Well, again, thanks for taking a few minutes to watch this video.
Last thing I want to say is it's 81 degrees.
It's 81 degrees. And it'll probably be 81 degrees in February, and we hope to see you in Orlando.
Guaranteed. All right.